Welcome to another bonus edition of Upon Further Review.
Upon further review.
And in this edition, we'll be talking about the Week 7 matchup between the Cleveland Browns and the Jacksonville Jaguars. You can catch this matchup on October 19th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and that'll be aired on your local CBS affiliates. So heading into this game, the Cleveland Browns are 3-2, and the Jackson Jaguars are winless at 0-6. And Cleveland started off with a loss in Pittsburgh by a field goal, as they just barely lost that game. And then they beat the Saints at home in Cleveland, and they won that one by 2 points. Then they hosted the Ravens, and they lost by 2 points. Then they went to Tennessee, and they won by 1 point. And then they hosted Pittsburgh in the rematch from Week 1, and in Week 6, they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers by 3 touchdowns. That's right, 21 points. And they had their bye week there in Week 4. And as for Jacksonville, they are winless on the season. They lost on the road to Philly and Washington. Then they lost at home to the Colts. They went to San Diego and lost. They lost at home to Pittsburgh. And then they went to Tennessee and lost. And now they host Cleveland. And this is their third home game. And it's going to be their third home loss, from what I can see, is the Browns have been on fire. The Browns are actually probably one of the more underrated teams this year. If you actually look at both of their losses, they're a combined 5 points is how they lost that. They lost by a field goal, then they lost by 2 points. Otherwise, the Browns would be undefeated, and everybody would be singing the praises of Patini. But let's look inside the numbers here for these teams. And when it comes to passing offense, the Browns are 17th in the NFL in passing yards per game, and the Jaguars are 23rd. And when it comes to passing defense, the Browns are 23rd, and the Jaguars are 30th. So both these teams are not at all proficient when it comes to their passing attacks, but the advantage has to go in the favor of the Browns for sure. Although Blake Bortles has been turning it on lately as he's taken over. He had 336 passing yards in that loss to Tennessee last week. And he actually was the leading rusher with 38 rushing yards for the Jaguars. So Blake Bortles has been turning on, but still you got to give the advantage to the Browns they have the slight advantage with their offense and with their defense. Now we look at the running attack, and here's where the Browns really separate themselves. They are third in the NFL in rushing yards per game, and that's the reason why they have the record that they do for sure. And the Jaguars are dead last. They're 32nd in the NFL when it comes to rushing yards, as they cannot run the ball to save their life. When we look at running defense, though, the Browns, as well as they run the ball, that's as bad as they are at stopping the run. They're 30th in the NFL when it comes to run defense. The Jaguars are 19th in the NFL in run defense. But even still, the clear advantage by far goes to Cleveland in the running game. Ben Tate has been really good as whenever he's healthy, and he's healthy right now. And he's showing out, in the last couple weeks. He had 124 in Week 5, and then he had 78 last week. Of course, West and Crowell can also run the ball too, so they've got some backs there in Cleveland. We look at points scored. The Browns are 13th in the NFL in points scored per game, and the Jaguars are 31st. And points against, the Browns are 17th, the Jaguars 31st. So again, the advantage is with Cleveland there as well. Jacksonville cannot put up any points, and they can't stop people from putting up points. So in all statistical categories, the advantage goes to Cleveland for sure, and that's pretty much going to be the story for the most part for most teams against Jacksonville, as you start to wonder who could they beat. And maybe, Cleveland coming to Jacksonville, maybe the Jaguars have a chance. Jacksonville's not as bad as everyone says. They're not as bad as they look on paper either. Blake Bortles does have a lot of potential, and he, it shows with Bortles behind center, the future is bright in Jacksonville, but the future is not this season. And their defense, they actually play a lot better than they look on paper. They actually, when you watch the Jacksonville Jaguars play their games, you see some really great plays by their defense on one play, but then on the next play they let up something big or something happens, and all that good effort is for naught. So they're not as far off as they might appear to be, and they're not as bad as 0-6. So maybe somehow they figure out a way to win this game, although I do not see that happening. I think the Cleveland Browns are similar in that they were also kind of overlooked. I mean, of course, everyone's going to overlook Jacksonville. They haven't won a game. But with Cleveland, they actually could be undefeated right now very easily. And they actually, last year, the Browns, they were 3-13, but 6 of those losses were by 1 possession. And if they had won those 6 games, they would have been 9-7. So they were actually a much better team last year than people gave them credit for. Of course, this year without their star receiver, Josh Gordon, that's really hurt them. Imagine if they had Gordon, they probably would be undefeated, and they'd be the talk of the NFL. And so, but they don't have him, so that's how it is. It's what it is, and they're going to rely on that running game. And, man, they're going to be good next year. And even, who knows, maybe they end up getting their star back before things are all said and done this year. You never know. That is some of the rumors going around. But as for now, though, with the personnel they have, Cleveland should go in there, run the ball all over Jacksonville. It should be a good week for Hoyer as well. They should put up some numbers. Jordan Cameron, their defense should shut down Jacksonville. Should start to look a little bit better. They haven't been looking as good as they're better than they look, too. Their defensive stats make them look, pretty bad, but actually, if you watch the games, they're right there in it. And part of the thing is when you're competing with these teams and you're going back and forth, a lot of numbers can get put up. But if you look at the scoreboard, though, they're right there in the middle of the road with points allowed, and this game should help them with their totals. Even the next few games for the Browns is they got Jacksonville here in Week 7, then Oakland in Week 8, Tampa in Week 9. At that point, and they win those games, we'll be talking about them as 7-2, and their stats will probably be bearing that out a lot more at that point. But as for now, in this game, I see the Browns winning it. Maybe it's a close one, but I think the Browns should win it by double digits. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Interested to hear your thoughts and opinions. And if you enjoyed the show, make sure to hit the like button. How else would we know you enjoy the show if you don't hit the like button? And also, if you want more of this content, hit the subscribe button, as we bring you upon further reviews and recaps each and every single week for each and every single game all season long and through the playoffs all the way to the Super Bowl. We also have our weekly show, The Wedge, where we do quick picks, fantasy football picks. We also have the weekly rewind of the week that was, and we do the Thursday night upon further review on that show, The Wedge. We try to have that up by Tuesday. It's usually up by Wednesday, no later than Thursday. We do that weekly. We're also covering the MLB playoffs. We cover the wild card, the division series, the championship series. Now it's down to the World Series between the Giants and the Royals. Very excited. It's going to be starting next week, so keep an eye out for that as well. And we're also covering some college football when we can, and we will be covering the college football playoffs later on in the year. So keep an eye out for all of that, and thank you very much for listening. It is greatly appreciated. I hope you're having a good day and have a great weekend and enjoy all of the sports.